It scares you. But once you've tasted it, you can't stop. That's all you think about. Like I said, it consumes you.
The Darkness 2 is a sequel to the surprising hit The Darkness, and while the first game had its fair share of flaws, it was still a lot of fun to play. How is this next installment in the series? Well, the storyline is extremely well done with some fantastic voice acting and a very well written script. The first game's story was slightly loose and less interesting, however this time around, the story is very interesting. It combines elements of horror, tragedy, romance, and mob films to create a really interesting storyline. This is a brutally violent game and features some very mature sexual content along with some very dark subject matter. The game has some humor, but make no mistake, this is a very adult storyline with some extreme violence. Jackie has the Darkness and is now the head of the Mafia, and has kept the Darkness at bay for 2 years, until an attempt on his life is made and all hell breaks loose. I really enjoyed the over-the-top aspects of the story, but it was nice to have relatable and memorable characters to make for a well-balanced storyline. I liked a lot of the characters, and some of the dialogue provided some much-needed humor. Graphically, things have changed. Now, the game has a cel-shaded look to it, which gives the game a comic book-like feel, which matches since that's where the game drew its inspiration from. The visuals of the game are very good, with some fantastic character animations. The death, execution, impalements, and all those other type of features of the game look great. The lighting effects also look fantastic. Sure, there's some rough-looking textures causing some things to look rather flat, but other than that, it's a fantastic-looking title. The gameplay really shines in this violent shooter. Gunplay is well balanced and feels very solid. The brutal death animations and great sound design really make the shootouts intense, not to mention how much fun it is to dual-wield guns. Visually, guns have nice weight and animations to them, making the gunplay satisfying and extremely fun to play. There's also plenty of guns to use, and mixing them to dual-wield is a lot of fun. Beyond your standard firearms, you have the powers of the Darkness, where you can have unlimited ammo, which will decimate your enemies, which is awesome, especially while dual-wielding 2 automatic guns. You can eat people's hearts, rip them apart, throw things to impale your enemies, and whip enemies apart and slice them in two. That's pretty awesome. If you have not figured it out, this is a very brutal game, and the action is very visceral and exciting. You can also gain new abilities and level Jackie up, gaining some rather fun powers, which you can carry over into a second playthrough like a New Game Plus, giving the game some nice replay value, allowing you to be one tough SOB on your second run, not to mention that there's 2 separate endings to the game. The controls for all of this are very well done and easy to use, and it rarely ever feels clunky. The levels are very linear, but that's to be expected from the genre. Visually, it's a unique game and sets itself apart from other modern shooters. Also, the storyline has some great set pieces and emotional moments that really set the tone for the game. But at times, the game can slow down and become somewhat tedious. Some of the story scenes, while extremely good, can drag on a bit too long. And the boss battles and some of the encounters can be slightly tedious and annoying. It's not that it's frustrating or challenging, it just feels rather dull at times. And some of the action scenes could have been staged better, and the game is really easy. Not to mention the game is pretty short, clocking in between 4 to 6 hours. However, the game has a fantastic 4-player cooperative mode which will keep you busy, and has its very own storyline that's also really interesting and worth playing through. Don't get me wrong, The Darkness 2 has some flaws, but it gets a lot right with some brutal and visceral gunplay and awesome action. It's not redefining the genre, but it's still a hell of a good time, and it's definitely worth checking out in my opinion. Thanks for watching my review. Please rate, comment, and subscribe.